So the Biden administration is set to release an executive order with regards to the crypto market coming in February. Now, if you have not heard about this news, or you did hear about it and you don't really understand what's going on, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down what we should expect and why regulation in the crypto industry is going to be so important for us to know. Behind the scene of everything going on in the world, crypto regulation is going to be huge, and it's going to take place very, very soon. By the end of this video, we're going to be talking about the pros and the cons of regulation, what we can realistically expect, and what is going on behind the scenes with lawmakers, lobbyists, and even the whales. So before we go into what the regulation is all about, let's just do a quick market recap on what we're seeing today. So the global crypto market cap is sitting at $1.65 trillion, pretty much flat from what we've seen in the last 12 hours. Bitcoin is still sitting at above $36,000 after it looked like many people were getting shaken up. We had those major liquidations, and right now we have been seeing Bitcoin fighting to stay above $37,000. But today, at the time of recording this video, we're down to $36,593. What we're looking for now when it comes to Bitcoin is for us to at least hold these ranges of $37,000 to even $40,000. So a lot of new investors getting into the market are going to tend to look and zoom into the 1 day, even the 7 day. Some of them will look into the 1 month, and you'll notice that there isn't too much good news. And then we look into the year to date and realize that, we've still been on the tumble. But I want to remind you guys as investors, take a look at the all-time charts. Take a look at how much progress we made. And even though we are still experiencing a downside to the market right now, the last time we did see the market experiencing a dip very similar to this, we did have another tremendous pump going into the fourth quarter of last year. Now on this channel, I do my best to present to you guys what the overall state of the market is, not being too overly bullish or being too much of a bear at all and panic selling my entire investment when the market goes down, but really just, staying realistic with what is going on in the world. Wednesday, January 26th, or tomorrow, since the time of filming today's video, we're going to be seeing at 2:00 p.m. Eastern time, the FOMC meeting, which a lot of investors from all across different markets are looking forward to. Some may not be looking forward to it optimistically. People are just looking forward to this meeting to get a clear-cut answer on what the Fed plans to do with its interest rates and what we're going to see happen with inflation rates moving forward into the year. If you guys are keeping up with politics as well, we're also getting word about Ukraine possibly entering a war with Russia, putting the US in a very difficult spot as well. When it comes to politics, when it comes to war talk, I know as important as it may be for the entire economy, I try to focus on my locus of control, things that I can do, where I can put the research, where I can put my effort in as an investor. And when we get news like this, I really just try to step away from it. I remind myself, look, we're always getting debates. The world is never perfect. We're getting allies and enemies talking about wars and Russian hacks. This just seems to be a cycle of what we see every single year. I really hope that, a war doesn't happen, but obviously this is still shaking up other markets, including the more speculative assets like stocks or even cryptocurrency. Now, that being said, focusing on actually what is going on in the market, we are still seeing extreme fear all across the board. Today, we are hitting a number 12 on the barometer, and we go into the Bitcoin short and long positions. You'll also notice coming down from earlier today of the $37,413 peak, we're actually seeing a lot of short interest loading back up as well. This is in contrast to the long positions and the interest rates that did take a little bit of a dip earlier today as well, resulting in seeing some of the sell-off that we have right here. Now, with that being said, what can you do right now as investors? Well, Bitcoin obviously is holding some stable levels, and even in the last 7 days, we're still seeing some damage all across the board. Altcoins aren't ripping like we would have expected it to, especially with Bitcoin having that most recent movement to the upside. But I do think it's because a lot of these markets are still taking some time to find stability on what may happen next. If you are a more proactive, riskier investor where you're active in your trades, yes, being on top of it and trying to time those bottoms could be a viable strategy for you. But I do think many investors can still find a lot of success in just slowly dollar cost averaging up the dips, not trying to time the market every single time perfectly, but realizing there are projects out here with good fundamentals. There are projects out here that are still going to move up in the long term. All across the board within a lot of the top altcoins that we've talked about on this channel, it looks like we are still seeing some mixed numbers, with some down about 5%, some up 2 to 3%. trend. And then for the most part, most altcoins are rather flat today. All right, so now let's get to the meat of this video and what you guys are looking forward to. And this is going to be the Biden administration talking about releasing that executive order on crypto and how this affects us. So the news first broke out over on Bloomberg just a few days ago, and they actually mentioned in the article right here, not on a specific date when the Biden administration is going to talk about the draft of that executive order being complete, but they talk about what is going inside of it and some of the clarity that they're looking for in terms of the rules and regulations within this industry. Scrolling down, they state in the article, the late stage draft of the executive order details economic, regulatory, and national security challenges posed by cryptocurrencies, said the people who asked not to be named, discussing internal deliberations. It would call for reports from various agencies due in the second half of 2022. So if you guys have been following along on this channel, you guys know that regulation plays a key part into the development of cryptocurrency and getting an idea of where the green light is for a lot of these other institutions to know if they can invest into the markets or not. A lot of the big players that have been sitting on the sidelines just have not made a move until they got word on regulation. So a lot of people who don't really know what regulation means or the pros and cons that entail it are often just going to think, okay, the government wants to regulate crypto. This is bad. We're going to lose our freedom. Anything the government touches is bad. It turns black. It is not good. But you have to realize when it comes to the financial market, things operate just a little bit differently, and regulation is actually a good sign for the entire crypto market. And here's why. So one of the main advantages of regulation in the crypto market is that this is just going to legitimize this entire asset class. Moving through the year of 2021, if you guys remember, we had so much negative press with regards to the crypto market. FUD is a term that you're going to hear if you guys are new to the crypto world. It is standing for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We get this oftentimes in crypto to drive the price of it down, to scare out retail investors, and to stop innovation from happening, because cryptocurrency itself is such a revolutionary, innovative tech that is not only going to prevent large companies who have been around for a while, a lot of these banks who have been making bread, for them to change and innovate as well, because a lot of the money that we have is going to start going into these different entities, these different DeFi products, these different assets, and we're going to be seeing less money going to them and more money going to the people. Anytime we do have a transfer of wealth happening like that in the course of history, obviously there is going to be friction, and if they cannot adapt, they're going to try to confine it or to stop the overall progression of this happening. Some examples of this come down to ETFs that were getting approved. It has been very difficult for us to see a legitimized spot Bitcoin ETF, and this was actually one of the more bullish signs last year if we had approval of where the market would head next, because it would allow for more solidified, larger whales and hedge funds and investors to get in and put more money into this asset. When Bitcoin has more access to capital, obviously that's going to help the price of Bitcoin go up just because of natural laws between supply and demand. And if you also take a look at the way of the cycle of money going through the crypto market, if Bitcoin starts to go out on top, it's getting a lot of that bread, a lot of that money, then we start seeing that rotated into other assets. The NFT market, we're seeing it go into other altcoins, which then is used for even more NFTs or anything listed on there. Now, 2022 is going to be so exciting for a lot of new investors because NFTs really started its run earlier last year, but now even within the crypto market, if we're talking about other divisions, if we're talking about other niches, we can actually see crypto games, metaverse, having their full ecosystem where people are putting more money into these assets alongside the tree or underneath the umbrella of the crypto price itself. Now, doing some research online, this article here by the CEO of Shares Post Digital Assets did a great job of breaking down regulation for you guys to understand. So pay attention right here. They state regulation, simply the word, was once enough to send a shudder down the spine of the crypto community. One of the primary drivers behind the success of blockchain is a libertarian, anti-establishment set of beliefs and conceding to regulatory bodies in an attempt to fit into the existing financial framework seems to go against the beliefs upon which the blockchain ecosystem was built. Yet it has become abundantly clear in the past year that in order for blockchain to succeed, there will need to be some degree of assimilation with the traditional way of doing things. Sure, blockchain as a technology has given rise to true peer-to-peer borderless transfer of value and innovative ways to raise capital or invest in promising projects, but we have also seen the other side of the coin. Cryptocurrency being used as the primary exchange of value for illicit activities. We've seen blackmail. Imagine the oil issue we had where hackers were demanding payment in cryptocurrency and people taking advantage of the uneducated investor through scam ICOs, which was huge in the last crypto cycle. And they state, as nefarious and anti-crypto as regulation once seemed, some in the crypto community are are slowly warming to or even welcoming the impeding increase in the regulation of the blockchain system. So what are we all afraid of? What does regulation even mean in the context of cryptocurrency? When regulation is mentioned in the context of crypto, here's what we've seen. KYC laws. If you're signing up for an exchange, they're going to ask you for your social security. They're going to say, who are you? And this is to combat a lot of that money laundering, which happens frankly pretty often in cryptocurrency, but not as much as the news and major mainstream media blows it up to be. In addition to that, you have your AML, also known as anti-money laundering regulations, and the regulations surrounding the issuance and trading of securities, which was also a hot topic last year. Now, as a quote-unquote crypto YouTuber, I do have some benefits of hearing, from a lot of these exchanges, a lot of these companies, getting a little bit of that inside word on what's going on. And I was even told earlier last year on some of the regulation that we would be facing moving forward into the early year of 2022, which we are going through now. The issue of securities, where we saw even like BlockFi as an example, knocked down my speaker. Where even last year, there was an order prohibiting BlockFi from creating new interest-bearing accounts for the New Jersey state. I think it's clear to say that if you are in the crypto markets now, we're still really early, just because that regulation in the rules of what's okay, what's not, what the definition of a security would be within this industry is still not clear cut. This is why it is so critical for us to understand what type of regulation we would receive and to also not blow it out of proportion, thinking it would result in huge detrimental negative damage to the entire crypto market. It's this fine line of wanting decentralization, being away from the banks, but then if someone hacks your OpenSea account, delists your NFT to some ridiculous bottom floor price that we haven't seen in a year, and they take your assets that are worth 6 figures, who are you going to call? Who are you going to tell? If there's no regulation and you're done wrong, this is when you're going to want that regulation in place. Now, luckily, most people should not be getting scammed out here. You guys should all be taking precautions, doing simple things like having a cold storage wallet or making sure that your passphrase keys are written down on pieces of paper, not stored in a digital block or taken a photo of where you could get hacked. And you have a lot of these steps set up. You're using different usernames, different passwords, different email addresses, making sure everything is locked down. There are a lot of scams that go on within the industry. It's just crazy, basically. Just know that it is crazy if you do not have regulation and then you are a victim of some type of fraud or scam. That's when you're going to want it. Even last year, if you guys remember when the TV show Squid Game was trending and then we saw the Squid Game token go up and then we saw it immediately rug pull and hurt a ton of investors. This right here is a strong example of the entire spectrum of different scams that you could see within the crypto market. Yes, you have those WhatsApp scammers always commenting underneath my YouTube videos and the impersonators copying me on Instagram and then DMing my followers. You got the bottom of the barrel trash, but then you also have the other type of scammers, the more smarter ones, the ones that use influencers to pump up a token and then dump it on their followers, taking their money. And we've seen that happen with FaZe Clan members. We've seen this happen with some of the celebrities like the Kardashians. We've seen Logan Paul, Jake Paul, just a number of YouTubers that got caught up on this. When this happens to a lot of people and there is injustice, I think one of the best ways to prevent something like this is to be proactive about it in the beginning with set rules, how we can protect others, and if someone does get scammed or something unfortunate happens, what we can do to make sure that they're covered. Now, regulation isn't all great. I know exactly what you guys are thinking. Anytime the government gets their hands in on something, it's going to be harder, it's going to be more difficult, and they may even limit things to a degree where we realize, man, this doesn't even feel like it's decentralized anymore. It feels like we don't have freedom in where we can choose to invest. Taking a look at the broader market, as an example, look at the stock market. We have the SEC, which was formed in order to protect consumers from rug pulls or any inside trading that Wall Street or even other hedge funds may do. As an example, one of the social meme stocks last year, AMC, was going up and the trades were halted. I mean, eventually we saw lawsuits happening, we saw fines getting executed, and we saw people getting their wrists slapped. Maybe not people going to jail, but we did see a lot of punishment. We actually did see some justice happening for people who may have gone hurt. In terms of other disadvantages, if you're someone who's into microcaps living in the United States and you're always able to get in on early, maybe you have access to whitelists, you may not be able to find easy accessibility like we did in the previous years before we began to see regulation. Early stage ICOs, which is the crypto version of IPOs, initial public offering, when a stock gets listed onto the public exchanges, you may not actually be able to invest in it early unless you're an accredited investor or whatever regulation and rules that the government sets up, you need to fit that profile and abide by. I think the worst case scenario for regulation, other than the accessibility, making it a little bit bit harder to get onto exchanges is also going to be how much the government tracks what we do. On the worst case scenario of extreme regulation happening within the industry, I believe the problems that we're going to see is going to expand out of the accessibility and joining early ICOs or being able to invest freely. But I also think it's going to be how the government tracks us. I know a lot of people get into crypto too, thinking about taxes, especially with this coming season up. And if you've made, say, $1 million, how is that calculated? How is that tracked? How is the government going to know exactly what you do? If you guys remember last year where the IRS came out with the rule that any crypto transaction of at least $10,000 needs to be reported, the government also wants their earnings as well. You also have to ask yourself this: why is the government so adamant about creating regulation and thus enforcing more tax laws or seeing how many transactions go through? And this may also be because they realize the amount of wealth that is going to get created within the next few years. So to wrap this video up, here are the key points that I want you guys to stick with. Short term, I do agree that this would be beneficial for the entire crypto community, but long term, it just depends on how much of that regulation is applied. If the focus on creating more regulation within the market is to mainly protect newer investors, people like us, and this also gives the green light for a lot of those institutions to move forward, I just cannot see how this couldn't be any more bullish for the entire crypto market. Only time will tell what we're going to see, and we still haven't got a specified date on the Biden administration executive order on what that crypto report is going to look like and some of the rules that we may see. Now, I'm really curious to hear what your guys' thoughts on regulation is within the market. Are you guys a fan of it? Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys disagree with me? And if you do, what is your reason down below? If you guys did make it all the way till the end of this video, we usually do a code word just so I know if y'all made it all the way till the amazing part of the video, the cool area of the video, the cool zone for all the swaggy people. Comment down below, fam. Comment that down below, Comment that down below, Comment down below, fam, if you guys made it all the way till the end. Now, before we wrap up today's video, if you guys are interested in joining my community, getting an access list to my research, my portfolio, what cryptos I'm holding, some of the buys and trades that I'm making, and even some NFTs that I'm looking at, don't forget to check out the link down below in the description for the Patreon link to our Discord. And don't forget to check out the link down below in the description for the FTX app, which is the easiest place to buy crypto and NFTs with no fees for buying, no minimum fee, and no withdrawal fee as well. By using my link down below, you can also find yourself earning free crypto on every trade over $10. If you guys are looking for an easy to use and very reliable app, check out FTX listed down below in the description as well. Now, thank you all again for watching today's video. Don't forget to also follow me over on Twitter at Brian Jungi and on Instagram at Credit Brian. Scammers are going to follow you. Like we mentioned a lot, ignore them, block them, report them. Until next time, have a great day and peace out.